Hi, I'm Jack Carter. I'm a director here at Openvale Group, or OVG. I've been here for 2 years, working on a number of different projects. Prior to that, I spent over a decade in the renewable finance energy industry, mostly doing sales and marketing finance.
My name is Caleb Maxson. I'm the founder and CEO of Openvale Group. I've been in the finance and consulting space for the last 15 years, with OVG for the last 6 years, and before that, Sunrun, DocuSign, and Alvarez & Marsal.
Prior to having a software-based planning and budgeting tool, we were managing big, bulky Excels. And just to give a little background, Sunrun, where we both work together, the very regional business. So 25 locations around the US, all with very different economics, very different characteristics. So prior to having a tool, we were managing large, complex Excel files that were fragile and hard to manage and hard to distribute accurately and inform everyone of the latest and greatest. So it was painful. It would take us a long time to generate the data after we closed a month.
Sunrun was a very fast-growing business that ended up becoming the leader in their space. They were recently public, so there was a lot of additional reporting and forecasting responsibilities or expectations that came out, and I think it would take us literally more than a quarter to put together a full year plan or a forecast at this point. It was it was vertically integrated from lead generation all the way to the financing. Like Jack said, it was very broad and across a lot of very local idiosyncratic markets. And so it was extremely difficult to manage. Also very cash flow intensive. From the time that they would need to invest cash flow in procuring materials, actually receiving cash through financing, it could be a year or two. And so the planning process was extremely important, but also very time intensive.
When we're running a process like this, we kind of have to optimize for speed, accuracy, or decision making, and we definitely sacrifice speed in this sense. So not only did we have to wait, up to 6 or 7 business days for accounting close at the end of a month, but then it would take a day or two to organize our data, push it together, and generate an output that had no errors. So since we were prioritizing accuracy and decision making, a depth of views, that we definitely sacrificed speed. So by the time we shared this information with our partners around the country, it was already business day 8. So things have already happened into the new month where we could have been making decisions at a regional level that we couldn't just do at a quick pace because we were optimizing for accuracy, which is not always conducive with Excel spreadsheets.
I would say maybe I would take even a bit further. There were elements that we could put together, but a large extent of the information when it was Excel or Google Sheets only simply wasn't even available to the business leaders. It didn't even exist because we couldn't produce it. We couldn't do the allocations to the level that we needed to across the products, across the channels, across the branches. The business could not even agree on how to look at the business. The sales teams would look at metro markets and their territories, and operations was looking at branches, which didn't connect and didn't line up. And so, in that Excel mode, when we're not able to provide like one way of looking at the business structurally, a lot of it didn't exist. And so folks were kind of flying blind accordingly.
I think I just want to add on there that prior to some of the transformations we did with a tool, there was the operations side of the business, which was run by geographical branches, physical branches, and the sales side of the business, which had a totally different organization of geography. So when they tried to speak prior to us combining these all in one tool, they were speaking apples and oranges at each other about production, like a forecasted revenue in a certain region. There were 2 different languages about which geography they were talking about. So conversations were not productive. I don't know if we ever got to a breaking point. We just got to a realization of what could be. we were accepting because we didn't know the alternatives. I really think that's the case. I don't think we were breaking because we didn't know the other side. And then when we were introduced to planning and budgeting tools, that just increased our speed, increased our transparency for data, that we opened our eyes. But the breaking point didn't exist till we knew what was available.
But I think a lot of planning teams experience, which is kind of like you're at a frog in a pot and it just gets hotter and hotter and hotter. You don't realize that it's boiling. You don't even realize that it's at the breaking point because you're desensitized to it. It's just been normalized. But when we got there, we were like, this is clearly at a breaking point because we're in markets that we shouldn't be in. We're clearly losing money. We're not getting the economics that we want. Our sales and marketing costs are out of control. Our install costs are out of control. Customers are mad. We have material shortages. There's all these problems, and it all comes back to a lack of alignment across the business. And so it wasn't necessarily like, oh, our Excels are literally breaking, but the business was actually breaking because we didn't have the visibility that we needed. Our operators didn't have the visibility. And then also, there's a team of 15 people and all of them are pulling reports. It's not like they're not doing work, but it just wasn't the most productive work.
Yeah, to me, the biggest, thing was automation itself, reallocating our time, not generating reports that, software can do. So we're able to provide time back to our employees. So that means organizing our data, consolidating it, creating views that were valuable to the business, to look at our business. So prior to having a tool, our team was probably spending 80% of our time on reporting and forecasting and 20% on real value add work and strategic work. When we added a tool and we were to automate the organization, the visuals, the version control, we flipped that and we're spending 20% of our time on reporting and forecasting and 80% of our time on true value add work. In our case, it was definitely live feedback. So instead of sending a template out and waiting 3 days and then consolidating it all and sharing the outputs with our leadership team and our finance team, you're collecting via email, via templates in Excel. It was truly live feedback of where our forecast was going to land us. So when we were able to gather our inputs in a live tool that automatically calculated our bottom line or our top line, collecting from 25 places around the country and 5 different sales channels, we're able to get speed up decision making, hence 10 times, because we can make decisions as we are going through the live forecast and not after we waited a few days to collect inputs and roll it up together. Definitely like data transformation is one. I go back to that geographical thing where we're using 2 geographical lists. So being able to use a common denominator from multiple source systems. So that could be a CRM that has one way that you label a geographic location, an HRIS, an ERP, pulling all those one and not managing that via lookup tables in Excel, 100 lookup tables in Excel to bring the tables into one synchronous view. I wish I had a long time ago. The translating stuff.
No, I think that's right. I mean, consistency of data, consistency of presentation, sharing of data, and I guess sharing the insights of that data was very important. Kind of my most tangible representation of the power that the tool provided is like our team and our entire executive team sitting in a room every week in our weekly executive S&OP meetings and pulling up the tool on the screen and just talking through that and then having real strategic conversations about what we should do, what was going well, what was not going well, and not discussing, oh, this metric is wrong or my number is different or we don't have visibility, our data is bad, which is what a lot of organizations face. But instead we're talking about, hey, should we prioritize growth? Should we prioritize profitability? How do we move our margins? Should we be in these markets? Should we be out of them? Those types of conversations instead, and that just illustrates the power of having a good getting leverage out of technology and having a good integrated planning process.
Most tools, but the Abacum does very well is organization of data, transforming it, putting it in a place where both someone can digest it on fly live and also provide feedback on that data and forecast adjustments, and give instant feedback with great visuals that are easy to manipulate for anyone. super easy to digest live.
Yeah, I think there are a couple items there. So one, the tool that like Sunrun was using was definitely an upgrade over using spreadsheets, right? And moved the needle a lot. I think it's still, being so connected, it got one kind of expensive, right? From a storage standpoint. And two, it became a little bit kind of inflexible, right? With so many different assumptions and calculations and logic connected together. And so I think some of the areas that Abacum could have helped was one, help to kind of lower the learning curve, especially for business users who didn't understand kind of logic or things like that. And two, more flexibility on the scenario planning to make it easier to kind of carve out, say, hey, this is our base case plan, but we want to carve it out and make some adjustments and not have that impact, oh, that's going to cost us twice as much in terms of storage, et cetera.
Mine's giving back time for value add things. It does all of the things that you have to do on a regular basis very easily and very quickly. There's just so many tasks that finance teams do with spreadsheets that take so much time, and their time is worth so much more than generating reports and organizing data. There's so much value in adding that time back to do real strategic work. Abacum does all the simple things quickly, easy to learn, and really cleanly, consistently. In our case, many times organizations look at profitability as a whole, and there's so many characteristics about your business that you could be losing in money in one product and making a lot more money in another product and not know it because your data and your information does not have depth. So being able to organize your data in an accurate and consistent way that has depth for your information provides you insights to regional profitability or product profitability or a sales or lead channel profitability can really make a big difference in your business that you wouldn't know before if you didn't have the ability to cut, slice, and dice that in Excel. So being able to add depth and detail to your profitability is the real value add for executives. Leverage technology to enhance your team. And this goes both ways. It's a win-win for everyone. If you are automating the simple things, that helps your business by adding time back that, but it also helps your people. An investment in technology is an investment in your people. They're no longer doing tedious, arduous tasks that someone else could do.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think that just empowering, to Jack's point, saving them time, empowering your people and aligning them. Multi-location businesses, you have people in the field on the front lines, you have people supporting those people, you have people in corporate kind of with a different perspective, and then you have management as well, and just making sure that you're sharing information across those. The perspective of someone in the field is going to be very different from an executive, right? Being able to bridge some of those gaps, being able to find the right balance between those two was a huge benefit at Sunrun, at least, and something that I think should be more of a focus, and that's the actual meaning of collaboration, at least from my standpoint, when you're looking at these multi-location businesses. And it's a very big challenge when you have folks kind of dispersed across so many different locales and roles.
In the short term, I think the future is going to be like AI-driven data retrieval. Because today, even though there's great visuals and there's great data, you're kind of at the mercy of someone else deciding what to show you, just to tell you the story about what's happening with the data. And that's the people who know the tool, who can create visual, etc. But I think the big difference the next few years is some executive with no technical training being able to use natural language to recall data that they're interested in. And so to give a prompt, and you have tons of data in the background that you're storing, and get that answer, they can get that. They're not dependent on someone creating a slideshow or a deck about what they want to show them. They can, call on data and create visuals using natural language to get the data and the story that they're interested in.
Yeah, I think there will generally be fewer layers between people making decisions and folks actually executing and doing the work, like the actual operators, people selling, producing, etc. Finance folks will still have a role, but there are going to be fewer systems in the layer. There are going to be fewer, technical resources, fewer system layers, fewer data repositories. I envision like a collapsing of that, and then you're going to have some tools like Abacum and some data repositories that bring all the information in, and they're specialized to really make the lives of operators easier. I think you'll see kind of expansion of those things, but a lot of middleware in the middle is probably going to get weaned out.
I think a best-in-class finance team at a high level is not a cost center, but a value adder. So they're using the most cost-effective way to do the basics, which is generating information and generating forecasts. So doing that as cheaply and efficiently as they can. And they are truly adding value, whether that's giving recommendations on how to route leads to the most efficient sales and lead channel. It might be doing same store analysis as to say, like, this store is time to close and this one's where we double invest in. That might go to marketing channel too. So best-in-class finance teams are generating value. They're not just cost centers. So automating the basic stuff and using the rest of their time to, storytell and make recommendations for the business.
Right, and to do that, we call it internally being a dual threat, kind of combining a strategic perspective and business acumen with technical skills and knowledge of data too. Part of the leverage that we get with AI is it does a lot of the technical work for you. So instead of need to spend a bunch of time learning SQL or learning Python on your own, AI models can do a lot of that for you, which allows you to emphasize that strategic thinking more. But again, bridging that gap between technology, data, and the decision making, having a seat at the table. That's what, at least we see that's the profile of the teams that we see that are most successful with our organizations.
Go back to something I said earlier. An investment in technology is an investment in your people and your business. People think it is a one-sided, but I think it keeps retention if people are doing work that they value and they feel valued. So quit doing the tedious stuff, make it accurate, make it quick, and enable your people to do real value add work that lets them do great work.
Yep, I agree. And I think part of that is technology. Part of that is just like ruthlessly and clearly prioritizing with your teams, setting good relationships with your business partners, being able to say no when you need to say no to low value work is very important.
When you have a super collaborative tool like Abacum, and you have a very diverse business, I'll go back to a geographic example, but it could be a product leader or a sales channel leader. Collaboration allows you to collect feedback from the people who are boots on the ground in the space and the experts in that area. Long gone are the days of finance teams creating forecasts from their little castle in a corporate office, enabling transparency to the people who are experts in their field, whether that's product, a geographic, or a channel dimension, collecting impact from the people who are experts in that area and forecast in that way will definitely add value.
I think, this is something I learned along the way, but don't be afraid to start over. I think a lot of times when finance teams take on projects, or especially from a consulting perspective, we're like, hey, we have to get this thing right the first time, right? And you don't really assume that you might need to go and rework it. We rebuilt our model several times while we were at Sunrun, and they were rebuilt again after that. The kind of overall structure and the collaboration stayed the same, but the mechanics changed too. So don't be afraid to, if you need to, scrap something and restart, because actually rebuilding can be a lot faster than was the first time. You have a lot of knowledge ingrained, but if you fall kind of prey to that sunk cost fallacy and you're like, well, we put so much time into this, we can't change it now, that can be that can honestly totally hamstring the value that your technology is giving you if you're not willing to change your solutions that you've built on that technology when the business demands.
And I would just say, a long time ago, I focused so much on the what, on the numbers on a table generated consistently over and over again, and not enough on the why. And that's where you add value. You don't just share a table, you say about why and where things are going. So focus less on the what and more on the why will enhance everything you do.